Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. We're talking more about the Warsaw Uprising, and this is another good place to do it. This is Fort Bema. It's in Bemowo, a district to the south and west of Wola, where the big massacre took place, the second week of the uprising. And here you see a fortress with a moat around it. This was built by the Russians as part of a circle of forts that went all the way around Warsaw. It was built in the 1890s and shows you, just by looking at it, gives you a real indication of how much the Russians wanted to hang on to this particular area, which was very much indeed. There's also an airfield that came into use during the period of World War I and remained in use as a Russian and German military airfield up until and into the Second World War, which was very convenient because before the war, this was where Polish army stored its munitions, and that's a similar thing that the Germans used it for, as well as military warehouses. Since it was near the airfield, they could easily get things here and keep them relatively safe, because of course the Russians coming from the east, and all evacuation of the German army was taking place up to the uprising to the west. So behind me you see the casemates. This is the place where they would have stored munitions and other things, anything you would use, the military would use. And there were quite a lot of these right the way along. This was a big fort complex. All of these forts were big. If you know anything about Russian fortresses, they tend to make very large fortresses. The Citadel fortress in Warsaw goes on for about 2 kilometers, the complex. There's a number of these fortresses built around the perimeter of Warsaw. Then you also have the Modlin fortress, which is where the Bug Nerew river meets the Vistula. And that fort's a bit earlier and was one of the most, you're controlling one of the most important we could say estuaries in Poland at that place. That fort's from, I believe, the 1820s, early 19th century. At any rate, the Russians built a lot of fortresses here, which were very useful during the uprising to the Nazis. That's the point. They were able to secure their stores here, their weapons, their ammunition, and it's a big place. It's a big park today, but it would have been a very, very convenient and easily protected area for the Germans during the Warsaw Uprising. Right, it is a pleasant place to walk today, but it wouldn't have been so in August of 1944, because the Germans would have been under siege from the AK, who were hiding in the forests all around in this area and to the north and west of Warsaw in the Campinos forest, of course the Bielany forest. There's a lot of forested areas which the Germans simply didn't have enough troops to cover. I think at because they'd moved out a lot of troops, there were only 30,000 German troops here. They used mostly air power and artillery to subdue gas, flamethrowers, things like that, to fight the home army, who were much less well munitioned. At any rate, so the Germans were in a lot of these forts, like in the Citadel and other places, and then they would come here. Sorry, they would try and venture out, and that's when they would be ambushed by various home army groups. And well, it's worth seeing to walk around. This is a very good example, not only of a Russian fort, but of a nice park, and you can do both. The Citadel is more formal, with the various museums, the Katyn Museum, which is which commemorates the Katyn massacre, when Stalin had his troops kill 20,000 Polish officers and related military people. Okay, at any rate, weather might have been just like this on that day in August, and in those days of August. There was a drought on. The water was going down. The canals they were able to use for communication through the center of the city, just for this reason. So there were a lot of days like this, clear days, when you could come and bomb the city, even with planes taking off. You can hear planes now taking off from the nearby airfield. Okay, we'll see you on the next program. Hope you enjoyed this walk through Fort Bema and Bemowo, west of Warsaw. Thanks for watching.